on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of CryptoZombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day today. Now, actually, in my video on Friday, we were talking about the S&P, and I had said whatever happened on Friday, we were probably going to see the opposite happen on Monday. Now, today we are still having a red candle. However, look at this green candle that we had, where we had the S&P open. It came all the way down to 42.20, only to end the day on a green candle, higher than the Friday that we closed at around 44.08. Now, what's even more interesting about that is the fact that Bitcoin not only closed the CME futures gap, but had a perfect bounce on this legacy support that we had back here starting in January of the previous year. And interestingly enough, if we actually compare the day, this is from Will Clemente, looking at the difference between the NASDAQ, he used the NASDAQ compared to Bitcoin, you could see Bitcoin in the orange actually performed better on the day than the NASDAQ itself. But guys, obviously the most important aspect is clearly that McDonald's has chimed in and said, "How are you doing, people who run crypto Twitter accounts?" So is this a bottom signal? Actually, kind of funny. Michael Saylor said doing whatever it takes, and he's wearing his McDonald's hat right here. So the real question is, how close is the bottom? Is the bottom in? Was this the bottom? Is this the bottom on the legacy trend? Say bottom one more time, right? Well, we are going to talk about that because we have something incredibly massive happening within the next 24 hours, and you are not going to want to turn off this video. Make sure you stay around until the end because we have some of the biggest news, massive news coming out of the US. There are multiple things that are happening potentially very soon, and if you are invested in crypto, thinking about getting invested, worried about your portfolio, you are going to want to stick around to the end of this video. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the price action and the big news that is at the end of the video, so don't turn this video off. I usually don't stress that enough, but today we have a lot to go over, so if you're not subscribed to the CryptoZombie channel, well, do consider it. Make sure you turn on those bell notifications to get those updates, and without further ado, let's dive into the chart. Now, as I said right here, look at this incredible bounce that we had right here. So we did have this support, right? When Bitcoin went up to 42,000, we came all the way down to the $29,200 level. We found more support again here. We danced around it. We had a little bit of a fake out. And look at this, guys. We have had a perfect bounce right here. And you could argue that we did actually see some of that volume that we were looking for. Remember, we were looking to see some kind of volume on this move. Now, obviously today, we do have stocks falling again on the open, but that's what they did yesterday, only to spring back. So there is a lot of concern about what is happening with the Fed. We've talked about this. They're talking about raising rates, tampering, some of this, bringing down some of this inflation, right? So that's a lot of reason why we're seeing what we're seeing in these charts, especially in traditional commodities. But interestingly enough, even if we don't just look at the CME futures, which keep in mind does not trade on the weekends, we do have the 7-day chart. This is actually overlooking at the perpetual futures contracts on Binance, and you could see that they have actually supported an even better legacy trend right here, where we had consolidation in the end of 2020, and you guys can see very importantly how this was the resistance. We came down here. Look at this. We had 1, 2, 3 tests. We have had the blast off. We did come back down here. And look at this, guys. We are having the bounce here again. So I'm not saying that this is the absolute bottom. Of course, we could have that crazy wick down to 28,000 or something like that. But I do believe that we are starting to build a form of base. And you can see that clearly the RSI is incredibly oversold. And we are anticipating a bounce based on this metric. Now, interestingly enough, although not that this is something to super celebrate about, but you guys can actually see that we have found our way slightly back into this descending wedge, right? So this falling wedge pattern has provided massive, it's like a springboard, right? Like you're diving on the deep end of a pool. And you can see right here, once we coil up enough, we do have the bounce. Coil up again, we do have the bounce. And look at this, guys. We had a bit of a fake out down here. We came back into it, and it looks like we're having the exact same thing again. Now, obviously, a lot could change in the next 24 hours. I'm going to tell you why that is, so stick around. But you can see that if we do stay inside of this, again, this could have just been one giant fake out, and there could be that possibility that Bitcoin is looking to reverse. Now, I don't want to spread too much hopium on the channel. I know a lot of people have been feeling pain, but listen, guys, it is time to put your emotions aside aside. For 3 days now, we've been sad and depressed because Bitcoin is falling and stocks are falling. Well, it's time to put on your big boy pants or your big girl pants or your big person pants, whatever you want to refer to it as, but it is time to take responsibility. And what we see right here is we have the RSI, the Fisher, and the CCI all clearly showing that we are in this oversold territory. Shout out to Bit Harrington for pointing this out. But as I showed you guys on the overall crypto market cap, we have not been this oversold on the total cap since the COVID crash. And I don't know why my chart isn't loading right now. There we go. So right here, you could see we were dipping down in this territory and we did experience a bounce. In fact, if you want to look at a level that was more specific to what we were seeing right now, it actually was this dump when we went from about 260 down to 201. Keep in mind, this is the total market cap, 201 billion. And we did have a bounce back. And from bottom to top, that was in fact a 40% move for the overall cryptocurrency space. So I'm not saying today or tomorrow, but what I am saying is this beast is coiling up. We are well oversold. We've been in a downtrend since mid-November. We are more than due for a bounce. And you can see right here, we have had support at the 100. In fact, we didn't even touch it. We have maintained above it. And you could see in the past that even though technically touching the 100 is usually something that we do towards the end of the markets, towards the bear portion of the markets, regardless, if you believe in lengthening cycles, then we can probably just put a big X over all this and say none of this previous data matters. But what we can see is historically, if you are concerned about the data, if you do think it matters, there is always some form of a bounce after that. So, last time we came down and dipped in that level, like I said down here, Bitcoin had a 63% pump. We went down from about $6,500 all the way up to $10,000, right? So that is essentially what we're looking at right now. So I'm not saying that things can't get worse, but I am saying that it's starting to look pretty good. And you are seeing a lot of interest from some of these institutional investors. Now, check this out, guys. So this right here says that digital asset investment products experienced inflows last week for the first time this year, a small yet significant development. According to the latest CoinShares report, this past week saw a break in the 5-week streak of outflows. However, the total assets under management has still shrunk from where it was in August of last year. But we can see right here that it is up. Now, back then, you had a free fall of 41% from its 86 billion peak in November of 2021, or at least that's where we are right now. But regardless, we are starting to see some of that money in flow. Now, here's the coolest thing, too. So there's this whale that a lot of people have been following lately. So this particular crypto whale has bought 488 Bitcoin that has been added to their wallet. So now they have 124,487 coins. And this is not a wallet that has been known to be linked to any exchanges. So this is some kind of an institution or an individual or someone that's not exactly known, right? So it is an unknown wallet. Their average entry was around 22,000 per Bitcoin, which means that they're still up 63%, but they're choosing to add at these levels still. In fact, you've even had some Bitcoin haters like Sven Herrick. Keep in mind, this was back in February of 2021. He said, Bitcoin fixes nothing, RIP my mentions. And well, look what he just posted, guys. Why I am becoming a supporter of Bitcoin. And he has this whole thing on the revolution. So yet another person who has changed their mind. In fact, somebody who used to be a bit of a Bitcoin hater, Jim Cramer, he who has had a controversial history for Bitcoin, he did buy some Bitcoin, then he sold some Bitcoin to pay off his mortgage. So essentially, he said that he will consider re-entering the market. He says, to me, that says it might be too late to sell, as in this price he's talking about, down 55%, right? Over the course of about 50 days, showing that the markets are essentially repeating almost exactly what they repeated last year. He says, I know I am going to enter, especially if we get another leg down. And, he was referring to, what was it that he was referring to here? It was the DeMark analysis. And you can see right here on the chart, he was saying that according to these sequentials, which, you can watch the video, they're looking at around a $26,355 low price for Bitcoin, which is where they would be looking to enter. Now, will we get down to those levels? I did talk about a possible wick down to around $28,000. I do have some buys set on exchanges right now for Bitcoin between $28,000 and $29,000 just in case we do. But that being said, guys, as I was talking about in my previous video, what is the most important thing, the most important aspect of crypto, and why do most people miss out? Why don't a lot of people actually take advantage of these price dips? Well, shout out to Crypto Bobby. He actually took a clip from Up Only, and I want you to check out what Crypto Kobe was saying. Now, this guy's an OG. He's been in the space for a while, has a lot more Bitcoin than I do for sure, and he definitely has the experience. And this is what he said based on his time in the markets and why most people generally tend to miss out.
I do think the majority of people that don't make it are the people that lose interest between bull markets. Like people that have known about it from so far back who still haven't made it. It's because they, as soon as it gets frothy, it gets to the bull market, they rebuy the all-time high breakout. So they rebought at like 20K and they play the bull market. They're a little bit naturally bearish, and the bear market hits and they stay interested for about a year. And then towards the tail end, like late 2018, 2019, they just naturally lose interest and they go, oh, this shit's over. I've got life commitments, whatever. And then they get back involved when it starts getting frothy again. And those are the people that are not going to make it. So if there is one piece of advice that I can give, is like find a way to remain the same level of interest that you have now when you check the chart every day, you like lose sleep over your positions, whatever the f you're doing, you over leveraged apes. Like you need to have the same level of interest when everything's really boring. Because right now it's like everyone's interested, right? Like my like parents are like super in like, what shall I buy? My friends from school way back when are hitting me up saying, is Cardano good and whatever. But none of those people are interested in the bottom. None of those people are interested when it's going sideways for 6 months. And if you tell those people at the bottom in the 6 month sideways, now's the time, they fucking ignore you. They're like, nah, it seems a bit risky. Like, it's not for me. I'll look at it later. And then they hit you up in January of this year, like, is it too late to get in, by the way? And you're like, no, just immediately market buy. It's like 25K or something. It's 30K. And they're like, I'm going to wait for a dip. And at 60K, they're like, is it too late to market buy like you said? And you're like, bro, I have no advice for you anymore. I told you at 4K to buy. I told you like 6K to buy. I told you at 7K to buy. So the main way you have to make it is try and perpetuate your interest through the boring bit. The boring bit is where the opportunity is, when all these moon boys and all the marketers and all the LARPers, they disappear from Twitter and they don't participate anymore. Their accounts just stop tweeting. That's the bit where you're supposed to be interested and you're supposed to be taking your like next 3 years of positions.
And it's totally true, right? Everybody gets depressed, they get sad, they walk away, they say crypto's a scam, and they miss out on the greatest buying opportunities. Remember, there is that saying that money is made in the bear markets or in the bear trends, right? If you're trying to chase the pumps, usually it doesn't end too great, but if you set your position, you get in there, especially when it's low, especially when there's nothing happening or it's boring or it's even depressing to be looking at the charts, that often tends to be the best time for accumulation. And I do believe that we are very close, if not at those levels of prime accumulation. I mean, Bitcoin was sitting at $33,000 yesterday and pumped all the way up over $37,000 just by the mid-afternoon. You can see that when these price moves happen, whether to the upside or to the downside, they are very quick, and it's those who are positioned in the markets, those who stick around, those who believe, those who dollar cost average, that will reap the benefits. Now, Mike McClone, you guys know he's the senior analyst over at Bloomberg. He said, crypto gone to the dogs, Bitcoin set to shine versus the gaggle. Price reversion in cryptos is likely to spread in 2022 after the assets were a poster child of speculative inflationary excess in 2021, but Bitcoin stands to come out ahead. Correlations are heading towards 1-to-1. Now, here's another interesting statistic. According to the latest report from Crypto.com, we are currently on track to reach 1 billion crypto users by the end of 2022. So last year, the number of crypto users almost tripled, increasing from 106 million in January to 295 in December. If we see the same rate of increase in 2022, we are on track to reach 1 billion users by the end of the year. And if you've been following me on Twitter, I showed you guys the path of Bitcoin to $1 million per coin. And right now people are like, you're absolutely insane. Bitcoin's sitting at 33,000. It might go lower. How are we going to get to $1 million in our lifetime? Well, if you have a look at the global money supply and you realize that Bitcoin represents less than, it's like 0.1 3 or 1/8%, and you consider even just tapping into 1% or 2% or the magic number 3%, you have $1 million Bitcoin. And if you don't think that's happening, look at the charts, look at the wallets growing, look at the people interested in crypto. Yes, the price is down, but this happens all the time. If you've been in the crypto space, you know that 50% crashes, well, they're basically just another day in crypto, but it's those who stand through those 50% crashes, take advantage of those cheap discounts that reap the benefits of the 10x, 20x, 30x, whatever it is over the course of the next decades, right? Bitcoin is the honey badger. It does not care. In fact, we have amazing news coming out of the Thailand financial sector regulators. They're actually looking to set up guidelines for the utilization of cryptocurrencies as a form of payment. Now, obviously, they do cite concerns over things like volatility, cybercrime, data privacy, and of course, money laundering. These are issues that we have all over the world, even in the US. But the fact that they're looking to set up these regulatory guidelines in a positive way to allow the payment shows that they're not dismissing it, they're not banning it, they are looking for ways to integrate it into their system. Now, let us talk about the big news. So, tomorrow, guys, we have a very big meeting of the FOMC. Now, this is where they're going to talk about whether or not they're going to be raising rates. There is a lot of speculation. This is where a lot of the fear has come from. Now, a lot of people are saying that they think they're not going to do it. They're going to back down. They're going to postpone it. They're going to say, hey, let's wait until March. That's what a lot of people are saying. So, we could have a rough couple months for crypto, for stocks, right, leading into March, but the next 24 hours are going to be critical because tomorrow at around, I believe it's 2:30 p.m. Eastern time. I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. But essentially, a lot of people are sort of waiting on the sidelines to see what happens. But if they do not raise the rates, there is a very good chance that you could see an explosive rally. You could see stocks get some relief. You could see Bitcoin get some relief. And going back to the Bitcoin chart, there is also that possibility that, Bitcoin could end up breaking out of this wedge and get back into some really bullish territory. So that is number one. That is the number one most important thing. The second thing that a lot of people aren't talking about right now, and this is also related to the US, is that the Biden administration right now, as I'm making this video, is reportedly working on an executive order emphasizing potential economic, regulatory, and national security challenges that cryptocurrencies might pose in the future. Now, we don't have any information on whether or not this is going to be a positive type of a meeting, whether or not this is going to be a negative meeting. What does this mean for the altcoins? What does it mean as far as securities? How are they going to look to regulate this? Maybe nothing comes of it, but it is worth bringing up because this is a very big move and we knew regulation was coming. It's still very gray right now, right? We don't really know 100%. We know that US citizens are not supposed to invest in ICOs and things like that, and many coins are potentially deemed as securities, but ultimately we don't really have that crystal clear documentation, regulation that lets us know. So they said that the senior administration officials have already held multiple meetings to discuss the executive order, and the order is now being prepared to be presented to Joe Biden in the coming weeks. The directive, which will be presented to Joe Biden, will position the White House in the center, overseeing policy and regulatory efforts concerning cryptocurrencies. Here's another thing that they had mentioned. The report further stated that the government may also be planning to introduce a central bank digital currency, right? Or a CBDC. The administration hasn't made comments on that yet. However, this could be a major change. If the US does decide to get completely off of cash, move into 100% CBDCs, although let's be honest, are they really going to do that, right? Because then everything is verifiable, everything is on chain, would be really great for them monitoring the citizens. Wouldn't really be too great for the citizens' ability to monitor them, because then they're not going to be able to get away with all the shady things that they do behind the scenes. So I am still interested in seeing if that is the case. But If that's not enough news for you, here is something incredible. So you have David Botset, the head equity product manager and innovation at Schwab Asset Management, said that their clients are increasingly interested in cryptocurrencies. Now, Charles Schwab already offers 4 mutual funds and 4 ETFs with crypto ties from third parties. And just to point out, these guys have $7.5 trillion in assets under management. That's a lot of money. That's more than all the crypto right now. That's more than double all the crypto right now, right? So what did they say? Well, get this, guys. We are currently evaluating how and when we could offer our clients additional opportunities for exposures to cryptocurrencies. And here's the kicker, including opportunities such as a spot cryptocurrency or blockchain technologies in the form of an ETF. Spot ETFs would be massive. Now, they do say cryptocurrency. They say it could be blockchain technology. They don't specifically say Bitcoin, but we've been waiting for a spot Bitcoin ETF for quite a long time, which would create the demand for the underlying asset. It's not just people betting on it with cash, right? They don't actually own any Bitcoin. They're just betting cash, 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 cash. No, we're talking about Bitcoin as the underlying asset, increasing demand. These guys are going to have to hold it in their custody, right, to be paid in Bitcoin on either end of the equation. Absolutely massive, huge news, big day tomorrow, 24 hours, 2:30 tomorrow p.m. We have the FOMC meeting. People are thinking it's going to be a bit of a bust. We'll find out. I mean, we will see what happens. We also have the regulatory news coming out, as well as the potential for a Bitcoin spot, including the fact that we've seen a lot of people buying. That whale was buying. Jim Cramer mentioned it. We've seen people going from naysayers to crypto advocates. We've even seen Robert Kiyosaki saying that he's looking to buy in, the $20,000 range. Will they have those opportunities? I don't know. Maybe a lot of them are waiting on the sidelines. But what I will say today, my friends, is that, for example, you are seeing the S&P falling again. And if we come over here, Bitcoin not really reacting as much. Now, a lot could change by the time this video comes out. Maybe by tonight, Bitcoin has a big dump. I don't know. But currently, based on what is happening live, I mean, everyone can see what's happening. Bitcoin is still maintaining above this legacy trend. So we could be closer to the bottom than most people think. Trying to time the bottom usually does not end great for most people. They usually miss out. And oftentimes, price tends to reverse before we even hit some of those bottom targets, which is why I do have some buys down in that level. Will we get down into the 20,000s? I don't know. It's a possibility. That's why I'm positioning myself. But right now, I've dollar cost averaged all the way down to this point. I'm very happy in the amount of Bitcoin that I own. I own more Bitcoin than I owned last week, last month. So that for me is a win. You have your own playbook. You play by your own rules. If you want more dollars, you can sell and hope for lower. Or you can just buy Bitcoin and know at the end of the day what Bitcoin does. And I mean, this to me right here, this is a giant accumulation pattern. I've heard people say the double top. A lot of people were commenting on the double top. Yeah, it's a possibility. I'm not saying it's not, but we've also seen historically many situations in which we've had double tops in traditional equities only to fake people out and then go to all-time highs. So that's my video for today. Hope you guys are enjoying your day. Hope you guys are not freaking out too much. Now that the panic has kind of subsided and you can, come back into these markets a little bit more clear-headed, level-headed. And for those who are accumulating at these levels, well, welcome to the club, my friends. My name is K-Dub. This is CryptoZombie. Until next time, stay crypto. And of course, peace out.